Hey everybody, Ben here from the Bonehead podcast and welcome to Print to Pitch. This is our new show where we look at 3D printed Blood Bowl stuff. So we're going through Patreons, we're going through individual teams that you can buy, and every now and again we're going to have a look at something that's not meant for Blood Bowl but definitely works for Blood Bowl, and that's exactly what we're having a look at today. So today we are going to look at a vampire team that I have put together using Artisan Guild's Blood Hunt. So this is a Patreon. Every month they release essentially an army's worth of models. You've got mounted guys, dudes on feet. The great thing here is everybody has modular hands. And as you can see with this picture here, they often come with open hands, fists, which makes them perfect for Blood Bowl. With no conversions, it comes with all the parts, you just have to build them right. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at Artisan Guilds, we're going to look at the teams, look at the STLs, and look at the models. But before we move on, we have got a coupon code for MyMiniFactory. So MyMiniFactory is a place of dreams. They have millions and millions of individual STL files, bunches, bundles. It's an awesome place to go if you are a 3D printer. Now, Artisan Guild have a MyMiniFactory shop on there, and we have a discount code which is Bonehead AG that should get you 10% off in the next week from when this video goes live. So a massive thank you to Artisan Guild for supporting us with that. It's a really cool way for you guys to be able to just try out their stuff with a bit of a discount. I think you will love it if you haven't tried it already. Okay, so the kit we are primarily going to be looking at is called the Blood Hunt. Now, this was January's Patreon, so every month they release this amount of stuff, basically. Now, this is for a vampire team for Blood Bowl, so we've got the vampires and then we've got the thralls. We're going to start off with the vampires here. So the Blood Hunt, we've got a cool dude on an owl, we've got some great dudes flying around on bats, we've got some great character models, there's a bit of terrain as well. But what we are interested in mostly here are these pieces here, these models here. I can't remember what they're called. Blood Hunt Knights. They are essentially modular in the fact that all their hands are different. You get 12 of them, 6 with helmets, 6 without helmets, which is a ton. And when you 3D print, you can mirror stuff. So realistically, there's 24 different vampires there. If we switch over here, you can see. So immediately when I saw this Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, this Patreon, like the preview that they do every month, I was like, oh, there is a vampire team in here. And that's kind of what brought me to this. So if you look at the level of sculpting, they do a great job putting together like a display piece, like these promo shots is basically what they are. We've got a vampire hero that I have printed out, and we've got these knights. Now, these knights I was thinking would be perfect for the 0 to 6 vampires for the team. And I'll tell you what, I've got 2 ideas for what to do for the thralls. Artisan Guild, they do an undead bunch and they do thieves as well. So let's have a quick look at the thieves I'm thinking for my thralls. And the thieves I'm thinking about using were from the July kit, which was the Thieves Guild. And in particular, it's the infantry that we've got down here. Now, again, this set came with 6 with hats and 6 without hats, which means when you've cloned them, 3D printing, we've got a potential of 24 different poses. Now, these guys have all got crossbows and swords, but again, they come with just a stub for a hand, so you can print off the hands and the weapons that you want. So if we look here, you can see we've got these open hands, the fists. There's even a dude with a bomb, which could be quite helpful. So I've printed out a couple of thieves because I was thinking actually that works pretty well for thralls. But I kind of thought, you know what, the new rules for vampires, it's bloodlust. It's not bloodlust anymore, it's just rage, okay? And you know what, if you watch the classic Transformers, just the leader gets really angry at the second in command and he punches Starscream around. I can see that happening for vampires. So when we're looking at designing a Blood Bowl team or putting together a Blood Bowl team that theme, actually, you know what? I can fully believe that the vampires, if they're surrounded by zombies or skeletons, actually, it may not be a hungry thing. It may just be a blood rage thing. And actually, they can snap and just smack a zombie as opposed to biting a human. And it works for me from a theme point of view. And I thought these zombies were actually pretty cool. Well, they're skeletons, not zombies. And again, you can see we've got some hand claws there. All the hands are interchangeable. So naturally, I've printed off a couple of these as well. And when it comes to hands, looking at the kit for the Blood Hunt, this is what we get. So we've got a whole bunch of swords. You've got weapons that are loose as well, which is always great fun if you're kind of RPGing or just playing Warhammer or anything like that. Then we've got these cool hands. So there's a couple of fists, a couple of claws. We've got a goblet with a long magical blood stain, and we've got two kind of clawed hands with blood stains as well. That gives us quite a bit of flexibility. So when I printed them, I printed a couple of those to get me the opportunity to build a few different guys in poses, and not everyone with a fist, just with a bit of claw, with a bit of blood. It's a really cool way. And when you're building a dude, you get that bit of flexibility, and I really do enjoy that. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the STLs. So when you buy the team, when you buy one of these dudes, or you subscribe to the Patreon, and you get access to the release for the month, as well as some cool stuff in the welcome box as well. But for this purposes, we're looking at the vampire dudes here to make the Blood Bowl team. You can download pre-supported, and you can download not pre-supported, so unsupported stuff. I just went and downloaded the pre-supported bits of the vampires. I've used enough Artisan Guild stuff to know that I didn't need to worry about supporting them myself, so I just saved myself like a gig or something. I know it's not much, but when you download as much nonsense as I do, it starts to add up. I didn't even bother. I just downloaded the pre-supported versions, and you'll see from the prints they've come out perfectly. Now, we can have a look at the model and you can see some of the detail. So overall, the Artisan Guild's vibe is, it's not cartoony, it's more comic booky. Okay, Games Workshop are definitely going that way, but they still have this underlying super serious tone in some of the work that they do. The proportions here from Artisan Guild work beautifully for Blood Bowl. They do have that little bit of extra character to them that I actually think is really nice. If you put a one of their hobgoblins against one of the new orcs from the swamp from Games Workshop, you'll definitely see that one is a more modern kind of fluid comic booky style compared to like the dark grunge style that Games Workshop goes for. But this is Blood Bowl, so this works absolutely perfectly for Blood Bowl, and you can see that the level of sculpting is brilliant. And by now you would have got from me that I love models that are not horrifically complicated. I'm looking for something that's a 7 out of 10 on the complication scale, and Artisan Guild absolutely load it up. You can get extras, you can print extras out, but if you look at the base model for this, okay, we've got some great muscular tones there, we've got armor folds and everything, so there's plenty of surface texture for you to do. But it's not so much like, and there's 6 different bottles strapped to him, and there's loads of buckles, and there's loads of, you don't need it to be a bold visual model style. Actually, you know what, let me choose that. But we do have some details, so we've got some cool skulls and stuff on here. But if you look at the way it's been pre-supported, it's been pre-supported brilliantly. Now you may think that's quite a lot of pre-supports. Actually, it's not when the model comes out perfect every time. There's always a trade-off in supports and resin. When it comes pre-supported like this, it looks like there's a wall of supports, but actually that's an extra 2p, and I'm fine with it because I would much rather pay that 2p to print off a perfect model every time than waste 15 to 20 minutes cleaning out a resin tray with a fail that I've done myself. So the fact that these are pre-supported, and they are excellently pre-supported, works really well, especially when you consider how dynamic these models are. So we've got the coke flipping out as well, we've got his actual big pointy bat ear bits of armor. They're done really well. And the really cool thing is, let's drop this other dude in here, they come with an alternate version. So you've got the main dude and you've got the head guy, the guy with there's a helmet, or there's a hood in the Thieves, and that's brilliant because actually you've got 2 different models here. If you want to go helmeted, I think I printed off a mixture. You can print helmeted, you can not print helmeted, and the great thing here, and this is my favorite thing to do with 3D printing, is you can mirror them. So you kind of have 2 different sculpts, and it's not that much different than kind of how your primary Blood Bowl team comes. If you have got a human team or a dark elf team and you've got 4 blitzers that are all exactly in the same pose, even if I was to just use these 2 models and like swap them, mirror them, I'd have 4 different guys who have different helmets or actually are different posed. But the cool thing is there's 6 different poses, and each of those poses have got 2 different heads, and then I can mirror each of them an extra time as well, which takes us from from 6 different models to essentially 24 different ones. So if there is a particular sculpt I like or a sculpt I don't like, Actually, you can just double it up. Let's grab one of the others, and we'll go with the helmeted one, because they're very cool. Now, I like all these. Now, when it comes to buying and using models that are not designed for Blood Bowl, you do have to think about the posing. And we'll look at that when we come to the thieves, because actually these vampires are all in pretty standard power stances, right? Whether it's flamboyant like this guy or just ready to brawl like this young lady here, who again you can see the great detail. And even if their supports are everywhere, a lot of it supports itself, which means you don't have very many sprue marks or support pock marks where it comes off, which I massively appreciated. Most models are kind of printed at a 45 or 30 degree angle. Some of these guys are, some of them aren't. It depends on the most efficient way. And this is one of the beautiful things about stuff that comes pre-supported, is you get to play the game of model Tetris, where you try and rotate the dudes to fit them all in the same place so that you can get as many on a plate as possible. The other really cool thing about this is they tend to always do 3 male and 3 female, which again gives some nice variety. Not the most important thing in the world to me. I think men or women or whatever can play Blood Bowl as well as anybody else. So when it comes to these models, you've got ball and socket joints for the wrist into the hand. Now you can see it on these models here. Now what that does is that gives us a load of flexibility as Blood Bowl players to either grab a hand off the human thrower with the ball and do that. I mean, there's definitely going to be some stuff out there where you can 3D mold a ball into a hand, but with the individual fists and hands that come with this army set, all the hands work, whether it's the main, like the characters, the knights, the infantry, it's all interchangeable, which is awesome. Now, the Artisan Guild's, one of the ogre models is the one that we use for the troll, for Gronk on the Buccaneers, because you get that flexibility with unweaponed hands. And in this kit, we've got one of the spell hands, which I actually really liked. Whether you want it in Blood Bowl or not, but actually I like it. It adds a bit of cool. And you know what? Vampires are magical. They have hypnotic gaze. You know, it's cool. It's great. You've got a couple of clawed hands as well. And I mean, that's all you need. But we've also got some fists. And that's it. And that's what I mean. This is all you need. This is all we need as Blood Bowlers. And this is the sneaky excellent thing here. You get one of these dudes. So you go to MyMiniFactory and you buy one of their guys at $4 normally, you know, use the discount code for this week. You get some empty hands. You can just print them off, clip it down and put them on any model that you want. Anyway, we've had a look at the STLs and this is not all the kit comes, but I basically took 6 of these guys, printed them off with a bunch of free hands. Now, it's Blood Bowl and Games Workshop likes to ramp up the scale a bit, so naturally I printed a bunch at 100%, a bunch at 110%, and at least one guy at 120% just to see what happened. Before we look at the models, let's have a quick look at the Thieves models though. Okay, so I printed off a couple of the Thieves Guild models, and the same is true. I did download the full pack of these guys, so just the unsupported ones as well. They're pre-supported versions, excellent, just straight up use them. But you can see kind of the angles and what you can do with the ball and socket joints of the hands there. Now, what I said about poses, you do have to be picky and choosy. If you guys have ever kit bashed a Blood Bowl team out of anything from Games Workshop and done the classic weapon snip, you will know that sometimes people look like they're playing Blood Bowl, or they're punching, or they're doing something else, and most poses can work. So this lady here absolutely works brilliantly. She's in a running pose. This is a cool model for a blitzer, for a catcher, for a vampire thrall. We just need a couple of hands that don't have weapons on, which we get with the Artisan Guild's packs. However, you do have to keep an eye out. There are some poses that, although very cool, may not be suitable for Blood Bowl. I didn't print this one. I didn't like this one so much because you've got the bits of wood on there, and actually, you know what? People play on different Blood Bowl pitches, and that's kind of the only thing you have to keep an eye out when you're building your Blood Bowl team out of bits and pieces like this is, would this be in a Blood Bowl pitch? Well, actually, it's Blood Bowl, so yes, most of the time, most of it will be. But anyway, these are some of the thieves I'm using as well. Let's print the models off and have a look. Okay, so the first thing we look at is one of the vampires that I've printed out. And I've printed this one at 100% scale, and I have glued a couple of these claws in. So, like I said, when you get the models, you have these little plugs that you can just put the hands in. Now, the hands are pretty small, so don't lose them when you're cleaning up the prints, but what it does mean is you can take these excellent models and use them for Blood Bowl, which is what we're all about. Anyway, I've printed this using my Mars 2 Pro on very basic settings with very basic resin, and we have ended up with a much better than very basic Blood Bowl model. So I went with one of these spell hands because actually I thought that could be quite cool. I could paint that a different color, paint it red to go with the blood theme, and you just got the other clawed hand there, and you know what, you end up with a very serviceable Blood Bowl model. Like, that would do great on the pitch. Now, I couldn't resist. I had to print out the special character because at some point we're going to get our vampire star player back in play. Come on, Games Workshop. We need some good star players for the undead team. Wilhelm's okay. Anyway, it's cool, right? The posing's brilliant. I printed out with the blood chalice and the blood spell hand. And alright, maybe the cup isn't appropriate for Blood Bowl, but I mean, quite frankly, Griff has a bird that he carries around. If Griff can have a bird, then actually, given the fact that sports players like to hydrate during the game, I think it's reasonable that a vampire could have, you know, a goblet of blood to snack on during the game. I mean, it's that or oranges anyway. Anyway, you can see from the print that the model comes out beautifully. So let's see if we can get some of the support pieces. So you can see there's a couple of pock marks here from the supports. That's probably down to how I've removed them. When it comes to doing the wash and cure process, I will wash it in a dirty IPA, wash it in a clean IPA, and then dunk in hot water, swirl it around, take it out, take the supports off, swirl it around again, dry it off. So actually, I wasn't too careful with removing the supports, and I've never had to be when it comes to the Artisan Guilds model. So I did nothing to make sure these printed. Now, the interesting thing is that was 100% scale. So let's have a look, and who are we going to compare it to? We're playing this team tonight, so we can give this a go. So 100% scale here with a vampire against a nobility thrower. Scale looks pretty good to me. So actually, when you line them up, actually the scale is brilliant. 100% really does a good job of making them appropriately Blood Bowl sized. If anything, they're slightly larger than humans. Now, these guys are supposed to be strength 4, so I wanted them to be a little bit bigger than which is this guy here at 110%, and it is such a cool model. So some of these bases are actually they come with the models themselves, which is great. Some of the bases are the ones that I've been using for all of them, which is the Asgard Rising bases, just because that's what I had around. The bases are cool. They come with little block bits, works for Dungeon Bowl. Okay, so vampire team, I mean, this is one of the helmeted models. This is 110% scale, so 110%. It's taller than a human, and it's a bit broader than a human. Now we're looking at strength 4 here. Okay, strength 4 for a vampire, so I figured actually let's take it to the Black Orc test. It's taller than a Black Orc, it lines up nicely with the Black Orc. Yeah, actually 110% is a pretty good place to be for these guys because they are supposed to be strength 4. This is one of the first times I printed something out 100% scale and gone, yeah, that's about right. It's been lovely. So those are the vampires, and then of course I did one at 120% scale, which is potentially a bit big. If you wanted to print off one of these guys as an ogre, you would be looking at going even bigger. 130% is probably fine. So if you wanted to use this as a vampire big guy, perhaps a stylized blood beast for corn or something like that, 130% will give you that strength 5 vibe, but they will be tall. Now if you line up the 120% against the human, you can see that my guy is massive compared to it. So this is definitely a little bit on the too big side, so I did like 110%. So I painted one up. Now my painting skills, as you guys will know, are not brilliant, and I painted this with a mixture of paints and washes because I do love a good Seraphim Sepia as well as Agrax. But I mean, this was wonderful. I painted this up when I was watching the NFL at the weekend. We don't talk about the Green Bay Packers game. I was watching this when I was watching the Bucks game at the weekend, and it was an absolute pleasure to paint. I did one coat of gold, I did all the block colours, I painted the whole thing in Seraphim Sepia, and then did some dry brushing on the metal, some dry brushing on the red. I did a little bit of extra dry brushing on the red. So I went with the red cloak, I went with gold armour. You've got the blood splash on the hand there, which I think comes up really well. And 32mm bases come with the model. Some are 25, some are 32, so watch out for that. If you think, oh, I'll print out loads of these bases, do double check the sizes. The bases were pre-supported, so it worked out beautifully. Now let's have a look at my thralls. So this is one of the thieves, again from Artisan Guild. I mean, this came pre-supported. I've done nothing fancy. This is printed out at 100% scale. I really like this model. This is the reason I bought, so I went back and bought the whole bundle when there was a decent sale on, and I went and bought a lot of them actually, to be fair, because I'd missed out. So I caught up, and this, it's great. The detail's great. The dynamic pose is perfect for Blood Bowl. Now, like I said, you've got to watch what's on the base. So actually there's a bit of wood and stuff, and I'm not too fussed. If they're standing on like giant bits of statue, it can be a little bit peculiar, but actually I can see a Blood Bowl game being fought in a Colosseum, so it all kind of makes sense and it blends in nicely. So when I paint this up, I'll probably just glue some sand on to kind of meld it into the mud. Anyway, I am rambling. Great models, and let's check out the size. So when compared to our nobility thrower there, perfect size, 100% scale. Potentially, you know, if you look at the weight and the size, maybe a little bit taller, so might want to scale them down a little bit, but actually 100% scale pre-supported is perfect. When you line them up to the Black Orc, when you line them up to the actual the Vampire, we've scaled up to 110%, you can see that the Vampire's got a lot more chunk to it, which it needs to be. So Thieves at 100%, good to go. Here's a second one, again, very dynamic base, which is cool. Is it right for Blood Bowl? Actually, it works fine, and again, 100% scale next to a nobility thrower. It's cool, it works great. This team is really good fun. Now, I did say the alternative I was thinking about doing was running these guys, the skeletons, as thralls. Back in old school Blood Bowl, you used to have like skeleton throwers and stuff. I just love that. Actually, being able to have these guys as thralls with slightly boosted agility is great fun. Again, printed these guys off from 100% scale with pre-supports using the Asgard Rising bases, and when I line them up to the Vampire's got more chunk at the 110% scale. Up against a human nobility guy, these ones are actually a little bit taller. I wouldn't want to downscale them because where they've got bones and stuff, they're a little bit thin. The pre-supported version's absolutely cracking. You can size up with a pre-supported version, and the only thing that's going to happen really is you may get more divots where you take the supports off. Scaling down and your pre-supports might not have the strength to protect the model, so be very careful with that. However, 100% scale versus a human, the height's about the same. From a mass point of view, they look great. Now, I think I'm going to go with the Thieves because actually it gives a very cool mixture of aesthetics for the team. You know, you get like the leather clad dudes and then you get the fancy dudes, and that basically is how vampires work. I love these models. Okay, so there you have it. Artisan Guild's models being used as a Blood Bowl team, as a vampire Blood Bowl team. You can see from our YouTube videos and the teams we've had in the past, we love using different models for Blood Bowl. Now, the perk of these is they're all available individually. They're all pre-supported, so if you are a printer, you can select your team. $12 is going to get you 3 different dudes. You can mirror the dudes, so you get 6 different sculpts essentially. For a lot of teams, you only need 3 or 4 different players, so for less than $20, you can kind of cherry pick and brew up your own team. Now, when it comes to something like the Artisan Guild, you can pick up their individual models, and for the next week, we've got this Bonehead AG code on MyMiniFactory. I'll link it below with the code as well. Please have a look, try them out if it's something new. But with the Patreons, they come with an entire kit. We looked at this with the birds and the different troops. It's a great way to buy in. I'm a huge fan of Artisan Guild. I love everything they bring out every month. Some of it is useful for Blood Bowl. Some of it's just something I will print off maybe one day when I'm bored, like the owls in this. They're awesome. Never going to need them on the tabletop, but they might be fun to print one day. Actually, I'm in it for the troops, and the troops work brilliantly. And if you look at some of the other Kickstarters and Patreons that are out there for Blood Bowl, Artisan's Guild, every month they produce enough troops for us to be able to convert a Blood Bowl team. I just had a couple, so I'm putting them together to make a Blood Bowl team out of 2 different releases essentially. I really love it. But with the code, have a look on MyMiniFactory of their stuff. I wholeheartedly recommend looking at some of their bigger models. If you're just going to pick up 1 or 2 models, go for like one of the ogres. They've got some cool big guys. I mean, quite frankly, these guys scaled up a bit would be sweet too. The ogre Gronk from the Black Mountain Buccaneers in the Bonehead Championship is from their models. So absolutely love it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've liked it. I hope it's cool to show off the different teams we can do, and I want you to let me know if you've seen some models out there that you're 3D printing with that aren't for Blood Bowl, that are definitely for Blood Bowl. And a big thank you to Artisan Guild for this Bonehead AG code as well. Anyway, I'm going to disappear. Thank you very much for watching. Happy printing. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead Podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.